What next? What are the options that you have?
How should a student handle failure?
Did you achieve whatever you perceived about dentistry in Canada? Welcome on all for yet another episode on Confidence Speaks. As we know, the Confidence Speaks focuses on betterment of healthcare individual, healthcare society. Let's see how confidently we can speak with a new guest here. Welcome, Dr. Joshua.
Thank you, Dr.
Joshua, I know him
Thank you,
from
Chris.
undergraduate. Did his BDS from Meenakshi Ammal Dental College, MDS in periodontics from Meenakshi Ammal Dental College. Enthusiastic person, and he has a peculiar origin of coming from a Chinese background, where the dentistry itself is born from them. So from that kind of a background, joining the mainstream, and now he's in Canada
Yes, I have.
for how many years?
It's about 10 years now.
Now 10 years he's in Canada. Let's seek from him words of wisdom. Let's start from there. We will start. What made you to go to Canada?
What made me go to Canada?
Hmm.
So it was year 2003.
Mm-hmm.
My mother and father had an opportunity to visit some of my family members in a small town called Milton, Ontario. My father and mother had visited them. They had seen or toured different parts of Canada. So when they came back, my mom had expressed her liking for the country. Clean air, clean water, 6-lane roads, no chaos, no pollution. And she loved it. So she came to me, she said, son, maybe you would like to explore the option of seeing what a first world country looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And my journey started from there.
Oh, so from 2003 to 2015, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah. So what made I know that you started your practice in Chennai.
Correct.
Right? So how it is different from practicing in Chennai and then finally making that final decision? I'm going to quit practice in Chennai. I know you had a very good practice in Chennai. So what is the one turning point that made your life to think about Canada is my place?
So it was 2011 when I first landed in Canada. I had to get my paperwork. I was still doing my master's program at Perio at Meenakshi Ammal Dental College. And in that short stay in Canada, I had visited a couple of offices. I spoke to a couple of friends. The lifestyle, the practice that they work, the standard of practice that they practice in Canada, and different perspectives of how we see patients in India versus how we treat patients in Canada. I thought to myself, maybe I would like to, give it a try and see if this is something I would enjoy. So when I completed my postgraduate degree program in Meenakshi, I moved to Canada in the year 2013. And then I started pursuing the exam process. And once the exam processes was completed, I realized that during that short stay, the quality of life was convincing enough for me to say my family deserves to live in a cleaner environment. And that is where we started the journey of moving from Chennai to Canada.
Did you consider only Canada, or did you can also consider any other countries as well?
So before my parents applied for Canada, I did consider and I did apply for the University of Hong Kong. I've looked into some universities in Australia. I had applied for the University of Singapore as well. And I think I would say I wasn't encouraged enough to pursue those avenues,
Okay.
which is why I think I just dropped them.
Okay. So when you, so I just want to, you said a long story very short.
Correct.
So I just want to know bits and pieces of the story. So what's the process? So if you have decided to go to Canada, so what should as a young doctor, what he needs to do what is the procedures, what are the exams. I just want a detailed version of each and every exams.
Correct.
And what can he expect in Canada?
And let me refine it a little better. How was in your time and how is it now? So let's start with how was it? What's your journey and what is the journey that people who are applying today?
So let me break it in two parts. So probably I'll answer, Harish's question first, which is, um, you know, what do you need as a person to do step by step before you consider moving to a country outside Canada to practice, right? For example, my earliest option was the university at Singapore. This was probably during my internship in 2005, 2006. And one of the first things that I had an opportunity to was visit Singapore. I visited the university. I met some of the professors there. I spoke to them. I could see in person how students would attend college. I could see the departments, and when I had a clearer view as to what the reality of the environment was, then I had to come back home and start doing some homework regarding what requirements does a student from India require to apply for the university in Singapore. So that's basically groundwork in terms of applying either as a student or to practice as a dentist in Singapore. But then I think during that age or stage in my life, I was busy with many other younger generation activities, which I pursued more importantly in life. So I said, I'll drop Singapore for a moment. Okay. And then Hong Kong came in as an option as well. I looked at Australia as well. But long story short, in my humble opinion, based on the experience I have seen, I would say the number one priority for anybody who's planning to go outside India would be to do a thorough and a very clear and crisp research on what the guidelines, requirements for a student to apply to a university or an examination board for that specific country. For example, Canada. So in the process of me trying to move to Canada, there's based on all that I've spoken to friends, on well-wishers, and back then the internet was not big.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like Google today. So based on understanding it, we figured out that there's a board exam, and then what are the requirements for the board exam? What documents are required to be submitted? How do we submit them? How much does it cost? What is the time frame from step A to step B? Time frame once they accept step A, from step B to step C, and then you try to figure out and see if you have the skill set to be able to appear for whatever boards or examinations that come during the process. So after doing thorough groundwork, research, and understanding of this process, the individual should start preparing to, mentally, physically, I would also recommend spiritually, to approach those board examinations with a very open and a broad mindset.
Can you also expand on the step 1, step 2, and step 3 so that the audience can know much better?
So when you say step 1, 2, and 3, you're talking about Canada, right?
Yes.
Okay, so currently, so Dr. Sandil said, right, what was before to what is today, the steps are the same. So you first apply for the board exams. It's called ndeb.ca or National Dental Examination Board.ca. You submit all your papers, university papers, your transcripts, and okay. So once all this is submitted, you apply or you pay application fees and you just leave it. So when I say leave it, now it is a minimum 3 to 6 month process before they get back to you and say, yes, your papers are official, it's accepted, you're now permitted to go to step B, right? So from the time you start applying, you've already understood what step B is, which means you're one step ahead of the game and you're already collecting what books, study material and whatever is required, literature that's required to prepare for the exams. So now you start studying for those exams. So once your step B, which is the application for the part A or the assessment of fundamental knowledge exam comes through, now you're preparing for that examination. You book for dates, you book a location, and you prepare for the exams, right? So once that date comes through, you write your exams.
So for the step 2, do you want to stay in India, or you can also continue it in Canada? How is it works?
So to prepare for the assessment of fundamental knowledge exams, which is technically your first examination for the Canadian boards, it is primarily a theoretical exam. So there's a group of about 300 questions they'll ask you. They're all multiple choice question based topics. It could be anywhere from basic sciences, which is anatomy, or it can go all the way up to your fourth year clinical subjects such as prosthodontics. And they're very clinically oriented questions, right? To prepare for AFK, you have to have your fundamentals and your basic theory very sound. For the fundamentals and basic theory, you have to spend a lot of time with your textbooks, number one. Or you can choose to buy notes made by those who have taken the exams in the past. You can study in India, but you may not have an in-depth of understanding for the preparation required for the board exam, right? So once you come to Canada and once you see students preparing for the exam, you realize, oh, I actually need more than 12, 14 or 18 hours a day to be studying. Not, okay, 2 hours in the morning, or I'll go to work, I come back in the evening, 2 hours and study, and then prepare for the exam. It's not that way. So that is why I humbly recommend, if you are doing the exams, make time, make effort, make finances for this process, stay in Canada and go from there.
Exactly. So I just want to ask you, you said finances.
Correct.
What is the finances that we are looking at? So finances.
Okay, so if you're a young student, hypothetical question, you're not married, you're single, you are fairly easygoing, you can manage by yourself. You could rent yourself a basement apartment, or you rent an apartment where you share with somebody else. You're looking at a minimum $1,000 a month in terms of rent. Your food, depending again whether you're going to cook or you're going to eat out every day.
The timing that you're saying, I don't think you'll have time to cook. Only time that you are seeing is to sleep, right?
Yeah, well, if you look at it, see, my blessing in life was my parents and my sister lived with me, and they supported me through the entire 1 year of my exam preparation. So I didn't have breakfast to cook, lunch to cook, dinner to cook. Everything was ready. So that was my blessing, and I'm grateful for that blessing. For if you, as a single student, if you're planning to go there, you have to kind of make a decision and say, yes, I can sustain by just eating XYZ, or I need to go out to eat, or it depends on, your preferences for diet. So eating is one aspect. So the cost factor can vary anywhere between $200 to say $600 a month. So that's $1,000 for your stay, that's $600 for your food, and basically a little or a few amounts of money for extracurricular activities, whatever you choose for yourself. So you're looking at, give or take, $1,500-ish to $2,000 a month, and multiply Canadian dollars, which you multiply for the period of time that you plan to stay.
And what should be the cost of your exams?
I'm not sure about the current cost for the exams, but I remember in total from step 1 to my registration, I spent about 50,000 Canadian dollars. But please remember, this is 2013.
Okay. So you finish your step 2, you do all the hard work.
Correct.
You clear it through.
Yes.
What's the step 3?
So once you finish your AFK, you have two options. You can either go through the academic route, which is apply for dental school. So you have about 9 dental universities in Canada, which you can apply to go back and do 2 years of your DDS program. Or you can pursue a clinical board examination process where you have 2 or 3 other exams which you'll have to pass. And then if you pass, you get a certificate of licensure, which means you are now a licensed general dentist, and you're allowed to practice in the province where you're registered.
Okay. So when you say two or three exams,
Correct.
um, again, is the learning curve is very similar to the step 2, or is it much more difficult?
See, difficult is not a word I use on a routine basis, but I would say all the exams are structured very differently because they want to test and see if this candidate is a well-rounded candidate. For example, some of us in class were excellent at, studying, meaning we can remember, we can,
Right.
correct, we can recite, we can theorize. And there are some in the class who cannot memorize, theorize, and recite, but they can be exceptionally, skilled or gifted with their hands, right? So this exam basically is testing to see, can the candidate theorize, memorize, and recite? Can the candidate also have the same artistic skill set? Can the candidate also apply, similar, rather simple, respectable communication skills for a patient? So you have now introduced a new examination where you'll have a patient who basically is an actor, and he is introduced with a certain clinical scenario. For example, a 20-year-old male, he reports to the office, he gives you a specific complaint, and you have to go and interview this patient just like how you would routinely do this in practice, and you're asking them questions. So as healthcare providers, bedside, or what we as dentists call chairside manners, is number one, right? How courteous are you as a clinician when you approach a patient? Are you keeping in mind certain religious or certain cultural aspects of the patient who is an actor on the chair? Correct. You cannot have a one-stop shop, or rather a cookie cutter thought process and approach every patient with the same questions. So this exam is custom tailored to identify if a person is well-rounded in multiple aspects, and this this person will be a good, suitable candidate to be a licensed dentist to practice in Canada.
That must be quite a challenging one because I know how dentistry is perceived here or how we are evaluating undergraduates and a postgraduate.
Correct.
The method of evaluation is something which is amazing. That is, as you said, only if you're well rounded
Correct.
personality,
Yes.
I think you'll be able to crack it.
Correct.
So, if at all somebody has to take up the
Yes.
easier route, which you think, that is attending in DDS or taking up the practical exams directly?
So just like I mentioned to Harish, my humble opinion again is not to identify and say this is easy versus this is difficult. It is saying what is it that you as an individual want for yourself, right? One of the challenges living, or rather being born and raised in a cultural setup like in Chennai, is traditionally your own beliefs, thoughts, views, options are not heard or not validated or not respected, because you have grandfather, grandmother, uncle, auntie, mama, mommy, uncle, everybody whom you have to listen to their opinions before you actually start thinking for yourself, which one is right? So, which is where I would strongly say, listen to everybody, take all their opinions, take their guidance, their blessings and everything. But at the end of the day, you have to make a decision, right? Because you know best what you are skilled at. You know best, yes, I've done my education in XYZ college, and I know I have studied well, or I know I've not studied well. I have this list as my strengths. I have this list as my weaknesses. You have to be true to yourself, honest with yourself, and say, these are the areas of improvement I need, correct? Or these are the areas where I'm best at. Once you as an individual understand this, then when you look at the board exams, you look at route 1, which is going through the DDS route, which is basically going back to being a student again. So if you're going back to school again, it gives you the opportunity now to touch books physically, to attend class, at least this time sit and listen, not sleep. You know what I mean? Have, if you've not built a social or a how do you call, a social skill set to communicating, you have another chance to go back as a student and build that social skill set, right? Or if you are looking at saying, I would like to pursue my career in academics, then going through a DDS route will help you, because now you get the chance again to research, because you have a beautiful academic institution that there are a lot of people who can guide you through the process, correct? So that is option A. Option B are for doctors or students who fairly understand, you know what, I finished my BDS, I've done my MDS, I have a running practice, I have a lot of experience, I don't need to go back to a dental school, I am not interested in academics, I just want to go and I just want to do clinical dentistry, then option 2 would be a better choice.
Okay.
So you said about the mindset
Correct.
when preparing for the exams. See, not everyone has the mindset that you have. You also had the freedom of having your mother with you, your sister with you. So some people doesn't have that. Majority of them doesn't have that.
Yes.
So what sort of mindset they should have to approach it? If at all some of the step 2 didn't go well or step 3 didn't go well, if they want to redo it, what does it go on their head? I am sure that you have seen a lot of people, who have not gone through all the steps. So what goes there? What is the common mistakes everyone does it, and what can you expect there, and how do you overcome it? Because my point of view is, once you've gone there, you have halfway in the way.
Yes.
So you need to go, for some way to jump on the other side. So what sort of mindset that a student should have?
In short, you're asking, how should a student handle failure?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the easiest, no, the simplest answer would be, you should like I said, you should understand your strengths, you should understand your weaknesses, and when you started the journey, you should know for yourself that part 1 or AFK is a theoretical exam, and if you as a candidate are completely aware that you're not a very sound theoretical person, you should also mentally prepare that if you don't pass your exams in the first go, that you should immediately have a fallback mechanism to take guidance and start studying even harder, identifying where you made mistakes during the preparation for the same exam. Because if you're going to prepare it the same way, like how you prepared it in the first time, you're going to get the same results, right? So, for example, when I did my AFK exam, right? When I did my dentistry, I would say I wasn't a very academic or a very study type person. I felt my hands worked very naturally, and for me to recite, memorize was not my cup of tea, okay? So, knowing that factor, I had put twice, thrice, and 4 times the effort to study that same theoretical subject, because I didn't mentally prepare to do it twice, because that's how I would like to get work done. If I'm going in, I'm going all in. I'm not going to try to do the exams. I'm appearing with a mindset that I am going to pass this exam, right? So for that aspect, my approach to it was preparing it with twice, thrice, or 4 times the effort. Please remember, effort. So that's why I learned the formula where you say E is equal to R, which means efforts is equal to results. So in short, that is where I would approach it.
Okay. Fine. So you finished all your exams?
10 years ago.
Yes, 10 years ago.
Yes.
Then you get your license.
Yes.
What next? What are the options that you have?
So you get a license to practice as a general dentist in the state or the province that you register for. So I'm licensed in the state of Ontario. So now you sit and figure out, what do you want, right? So before I moved to Canada, I worked as a dentist for 7 years from the time I graduated till I left. And based on that 7 years of experience, I had the blessing to work with multiple leading clinicians who had molded my mindset in many different ways. So I have to be grateful and thankful for all my teachers and mentors who kind of said, you have this skill set, master or build more on this skill set. You're not the greatest at this. So don't spend too much time in this aspect of dentistry. So I knew from day one that, my focus in clinical dentistry was going to be surgical, or rather specifically implant related procedures. So everything or every step I took moving forward, I read books for many years, classically with the subject of implant dentistry. I moved around circles of clinicians or doctors or dentists who were masters in the subject of implant dentistry. I've attended conferences, programs, training programs, lectures, only implant related. And with this consistent, workflow, I realized, after 10 years of doing this, that I would say I've reasonably achieved a certain skill set cumulatively from so many brilliant minds, and that is where I'm now putting it to practice. But if I did not know where I'm heading, that's when I'd be confused and I'll be doing the same mundane filling, root canals, crowns, and I'm kind of, putting my hands in every basket and not doing justice to saying, I would like to have pinpoint focus on this area, because my teacher, Dr. Muthu, used to say, you cannot be a master of all. You can only be a jack of all trades, but a master of one. So I went with the mindset that I want to be a master, and I spent all my time, effort, energy, and money into implant dentistry, and that's where I am today.
Okay. So you went on and worked in a clinic, or you basically started consulting? How was your journey?
See, when you start dentistry in Canada, you have two options. One, you work with somebody, just like how we worked as interns with somebody, right? So I worked there as an associate dentist, and I'm still an associate dentist. It's been 10 years now. Or the other option is you buy a practice that's existing, running, and you become an owner, and then you practice. So either you go into associateship or you go into ownership. These are the only two ways that you can go in terms of clinical dentistry. You can optionally third join a university and work as a faculty member, but then it's not a full-time position per se, because you're only there mentoring students. For you to become a clinical professor, you have to have certain education qualifications before you become a tenured professor at the university.
You went with a plan, right? That is, from here, I should have these things. Number one, number two, whatever your mother said, and whatever is your. Did you achieve all those financially, say, work wise? Did you achieve whatever you perceived about dentistry in Canada?
Let me begin by saying this. I thank God for all the blessings I have achieved till date.
Yeah.
Everything that I had perceived, I had planned, by God's grace, I have achieved them.
Okay. Now, somebody who wants to come to Canada, what will be your one advice? That is, one thing you do this at least from your experience for so many years.
Don't give up.
So yeah, you can expect some kind of failures also.
I mean, see, we're human, right? Mistakes can happen. Anybody can fail. And failing is not a bad thing, in my humble opinion. Failing actually gives you a different approach to what had happened. It gives you a different perspective to what had happened. It gives you an opportunity to grow. It gives you um, multiple avenues to sit and think, if I failed this and if I wasn't able to make this, what did I do wrong? Did I approach this process the right way? Did I, as a person, evolve to be the person whom I should be to go through the process? And for that, you shouldn't give up.
That's so nice that you shouldn't give up and you should be focused. All these are nice to see. But my concern with Canada is the extremities of weather. How are you dealing that, Josh?
Human beings are very adaptable creatures, right? We lived in Chennai where 35 degrees is a norm. And currently it is March. In Canada, it's about minus 20 as we speak.
Oh no, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, minus 20 it is cold. But then at the end of the day, you will adapt to the surroundings. So from an environmental perspective, it's very easy to adapt. Provided you make an effort to adapt. You could either be, my dad would always say, in the world, there are only two types of people. One is somebody who constantly complains that it is cold, it's cold, it's cold, or it's hot, it's hot, it's hot. Or the other group of people is saying, yes, it's cold, wear a jacket. If it's not enough, wear another jacket. Or if it's hot, fine, just, get a fan, work with an air conditioning environment, or, find solutions. So basically, my dad said, whatever the situation in life where you have no control of, don't complain. Just find the solution and you'll be happy.
Okay. That means nobody should complain about the weather, especially myself. I shouldn't be complaining about weather. That's so nice of you. So now, somebody, see, it's now the work-life balance. That is what we are missing here. How is it in Canada, work-life balance? That is how long you will work in a month or a week's time, number of hours.
Till you need to work in the night times, or you say,
I learned a new Tamil saying from my wife today. Akkarai ikkarai pacha. Correct. Sorry, my Tamil didn't come right, but akkaraiki ikkarai pachai. Okay, fine. So anyway, so that is basically what I learned today.
Grass on the other side
It's always greener. Correct. So at the end of the day, we're human beings. Whether you live in Madras, whether you live in Toronto, we're all the same, right? When you say work-life balance, you have to choose work-life balance. It's not Toronto will give you a work-life balance, right? If you want to work 12 hours a day, you will work 12 hours a day. It's not that, okay, welcome to Toronto. You will work only between 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., after which, bye-bye. It doesn't work that way. Okay, so you have to personally choose. And
suppose you can work on Sundays too.
You could choose to work on Sundays if you want to.
Quite nice.
I mean, it's flexible. At the end of the day, it's what you want in life. It's what you yearn for yourself and your family in life. If you want to spend more time with your family, you take off from work and you spend more time with family. If you want to keep working, then you keep working.
See, suppose you have been practicing in Canada now.
Correct.
I know that you have practiced in Chennai too.
Yes.
So now, suppose if one thing that needs to be upgraded in today's practice, dental practice in Chennai, what do you think? It's a tough question.
Look, I mean, there's many things to change.
Oh, no.
Okay, let's put it this way. So, if I were to change dentistry in Chennai today, knowing what I know, you mean, okay, so this is basically me advising somebody, or is this for me working for myself in Chennai?
Suppose if today you are working in Chennai.
Correct.
You have come back to Chennai.
Yes.
You wanted to, you know how it works in Chennai.
Yes.
Dentistry or private practice.
Yes.
So now, today, Joshua is starting a practice here.
Yes.
How differently?
Okay.
For example, there is a practice in Canada which is very nice.
Yes.
So you can also
Yes.
replicate the same practice.
Yes.
For example, in Canada, they do a very good patient record management.
Yes.
And if you do it very good, they are, those things are different. So something like that sort. What sort of process do you like to change? Or
Okay, don't get me wrong. Practice in Chennai versus practice in Toronto is the same. Meaning, whatever you did in Chennai, if the dentist or the person has not changed his mindset or outlook in life, he's going to take the same thought process and apply it in Canada, right? So it's just the location is different, but the practice is the same, right? But if I were to, look at my friend, colleague in Chennai, or if I personally would come back to practice in Chennai, I would say don't cut corners,
Yeah.
right? So I still remember working in Ananagar, many years ago. And one of my number one, principles in the practice was to never cut corners. If I were to do a procedure for the patient, whether it's the US, the Canada, UK, or Australia, if this is how it should be done, this is how it has to be done. It doesn't matter just because I'm in Ananagar, or it doesn't matter if I'm in Toronto, Ontario, it doesn't matter, right? If the standard protocol says this is how this procedure is to be executed for optimal results for the patient, for longevity, for predictability, and for, great outcomes, just stick to it. Don't cut corners for the procedure. That's what I think I would say.
That's great. So now, suppose if you are saying one thing that you miss what you're doing in Chennai, that you are unable to do in Canada, that I think that will be an easier option to answer.
Eat the street food in Chennai.
And then practice.
Yeah, because street food in Chennai is magical, so it's something different. That's something it's hard for us to do right now. Jokes apart, in terms of dentistry, I don't know. I don't see. Yeah, I don't know.
How far is digital in Ontario or Canada? Because, yeah, I know you have been in implantology,
Correct.
and you have been talking for Nobel.
Correct.
How far is digital dentistry, digital implantology in Ontario?
See, digital implant dentistry in Canada, you have practices where the doctors would not want to invest in digital workflows, primarily because it's a financial investment, number one. There are doctors who don't enter digital dentistry because they are not well educated enough in how the process will benefit the patient and the practice in return, which is why they don't invest in digital dentistry. But there are also, on the other hand, many, many clinicians who educate themselves, who understand what digital dentistry is, what the workflow is all about, how this workflow can benefit the patient and the practice. And they understand the seamless integration of using a scanner, a printer, a mill, etc., etc. There are a lot of people who have this, outlook. They practice digital dentistry.
Mm-hmm. That means it is going a transformation state. That's what I can understand.
Transformation for those who are willing to transform.
Okay. The same applies here.
Correct. It's
So basically to transform, I've transformed, and some doesn't transform it. It remains the same. I think you can take over. We are going too far into technical things.
So I'm cutting back. So once you finish it, so once you plan to start a clinic in Canada, what are the procedure to do it? Is there any license to be taken, or how do you basically set up a clinic in Canada, and how big or how small, or what is the optimum size? Do you think you can start something in Canada?
See, starting a clinic or starting your own practice is a business, right? We as dentists are in the business of healthcare, right? Now, being a business establishment, you can choose to be a small scale business establishment. So, definition of small scale is you could have a practice that could generate a certain amount of dollar value, which you as a clinician are happy with. Then that would be the amount of investment that you design the practice to hold. Versus you can also have medium scale practices where you as a clinician would say, this is where my mindset is at. This is where my clinical skills are trained at. And I think this is how much I as a person and as a dentist and a businessman can handle. You set up a practice, or you say, you know what, I have a group. It consists of me, my wife, my friend, and somebody else who's a well-wisher, where, I'm a clinician, my wife is a great financial planner, I have somebody who's a great manager, and I have somebody who's a great inventory keeper, or, somebody who's great at HR. You form a team, you establish a large practice, you have 10, 12, 15 chairs or operatories, and you run the business, right? So again, it depends on what your dream, your vision, your goal is. And then based on that dream, vision, and goal, you present it to a financial institution like a bank and say, this is what I'd like to have. And the bank now will request you for a portrayal of your business plan. You structure that business plan and the bank gives you the money, and then you go from there.
It looks very rosy, no?
Yeah, very.
It is easy, yeah.
I just also want to highlight, want to know how difficult or how easy is to acquire patients for a new clinic.
There's only two ways you can acquire a patient, or rather acquire patients for your clinic. One is by word of mouth. You do great work, patient's happy, patient goes and brings back somebody else, and it just keeps moving forward, right? The other way is you digital market. You can do social media, you can do print media, radio, and then you're hoping that the person who saw that advertisement is a good fit for your practice, right? So not everybody who listens to or watches a social media advertisement
Is turn into your
would turn into your ideal patient into your practice. So to bring patients, it's these two avenues.
It's the same everywhere. I think that is what he is trying to say. So that makes people to go and approach in a much better way. Suppose if somebody is approaching Harish, is it the right time? That is what we need to ask him. Right time to make a switch from Chennai to Ontario. Is it
For
the
whom?
right time?
For you guys?
Not for me. I'm not going to come. Don't worry. So for a young people
Yes.
who has just completed BDS,
Yes.
is it the right time?
Frankly, I'll say no.
Or no?
Okay, so I'll tell you why. So if you've just completed dentistry, okay, let's be very honest, you don't know anything. Okay, you're basically a clean blank slate.
Yeah.
You just have a certificate that says BDS. That's all. Okay. Now, for those of you who are listening, and if you're a new or a fresh graduate who just completed your BDS, please understand realistically that you don't know anything. Yes, you may have been a gold medalist. You may have done 100 cubes when you were in first year. You may have done 100 extractions. but that still doesn't count as experience. Okay. Real world experience comes when you actually start practicing in somebody's office or in your own office, right? Because this is when you start realizing, okay, to get this treatment for this patient, it's not just mechanical work where your hand goes into the patient's mouth and step back. It is one, your communication with your patients. It is two, learning how to connect one human being to another human being with respect, with care, with compassion, understanding that this is not a business transaction. Oh, I see 800 rupees on that tooth. Or, this guy is driving a fancy car. I can see a lot of money coming into my office. It's not that way. Okay. It's learning to understand you are both a clinician as well as a healthcare business provider. Please do not forget, you as a person are first a human being. Then second, you have a license to practice dentistry, meaning you have a training, you have a skill set, you have the ability to solve a problem for the patient. And three, you have to remember to do all this with respect and with compassion. Once you understand this thought process, and when you put all of this with the right intention to your patient, you'll be doing very well.
I think if you whatever he is saying, if we are applying here, I think it will be a great practice here itself.
100%.
That let me put a different perspective, because you said directly from BDS don't come.
Correct.
Right. Suppose I have my own people who are their um, siblings are ready, second generation dentists are ready. Now, if they are after completing their +2, they can go there and do the DDS and take that route, or because you said after BDS going there will be a tough job. And why not? Why not just finish 12th, go there, do DDS? Is that a better route?
I think I didn't complete your previous question. So let me answer that first and then come to this one, okay? So after you finish your BDS, you have no experience, correct? I would say find a suitable mentor. So the word suitable mentor is somebody whom you know who is going to guide you with the right intentions. I was blessed. I had an opportunity to work with Dr. Muniratham Naidu for many years before I could make any decisions. He guided me, mentored me. He gave me suggestions as to this is how you would approach your future career. And with his blessing, with his guidance, everything that he said is what I actually, did specifically. And this is where I am today. So in short is, once you complete your dental degree program, associate work with somebody whom you know has great experience and expertise in the subject that you think you would like to pursue, and then practice for at least minimum 3 to 5 years of time. So now when I say approximately 3 to 5 years, it could vary for everybody because some are fast learners, some are slow learners. Again, please remember, you should know this for yourself, and then you adjust it accordingly. And in that process, you start realizing that, yes, I think I would prefer to do this as my route to pursue my future career. If, for example, one specific subject doesn't work for you, you always have the option to say, thank you, Dr. XYZ, for mentoring me with this subject, but it doesn't suit me or my personality. I don't have a liking to this subject. I'm going to pursue something else. And please feel open to approaching somebody else from a different subject, and then you start shadowing and mentoring and working with them. Because until you put your hands in different subjects, you'll never know what you are naturally talented or gifted with, and then you can pursue. It's like I always give this example, right? You go to, for example, you go to a idli shop or a dosa shop, right? If you've not tried all the dosas on that menu card, you'll never know which one is the best for you, right? Now, my family and I have been visiting, the dosa shops for many years. And I've realized that a butter masala dosa works best for me, right? Because I have tried every other dosa. And every time I go back, I'm just going to stick with my butter masala dosa. So in dentistry as well, if you don't put your hand in every subject and don't expose yourself in every subject, you'll never know what naturally comes for you. So to answer the previous question, finish your dentistry, get mentored by different people. Okay. Surgery is one aspect of it, which is we're looking at either perio or oral surgery. You look at restorative, which is nothing but conservative dentistry and prosthodontics. You could look at pediatric dentistry. If you love kids, spend time with kids and go from there. But if none of this work, please don't be disheartened, because there's so much other or so many other avenues that you could approach with your dental training and pursue a career. Like I have friends who are dentists and they pursue careers in medical transcripting, or they do licensing for pharmaceutical companies. They basically program writing for healthcare management systems, because they realized that dentistry was not something of their cup of tea, and they realized that their training was actually a platform for them to do something completely different, and they're very happy, right? So that was the answer to the first question. Your second question you said was
+2 finished.
no. Okay, so so in my humble opinion, India has the best educational experience one can ask for. I'll repeat that. India has
Please, once again.
India has some of the best educational experiences one can ask for. Let me elaborate, okay? So once you do your +2 or your 12th standard exams, now you're going to get into a dental school, right? Now in India, there are hundreds of dental schools, but what you as a 12th grade student should be looking at is understanding who heads the institution, number one. You should understand who are the faculty members in that institution. You should understand what are the infrastructures or what is offered for dental students that you're training with, right? If you understand these three, because at the end of the day, an institution is run by a collection of different minds, right? So from the person who heads it, example, the principal of the institution, to whoever are the heads of the departments, again, collective thought processes, if they are open-minded individuals, if they are progressive individuals, if they are people who have vision, if they are people who have the intention that I am a teacher and I'm going to make you succeed and I'm going to make sure you learn what you've come for, please join institutions like this, right? Like I say again, I had the blessing to study at my Meenakshi Ammal Dental College, and the blessing of learning from such amazing different teachers and mindsets, which I think collectively today has put me in the place where I am. And if I'm able to share this information with you, is purely because you as a person, as a student, should always remember India traditionally has had what we call your guru and your shishyan concept, right? A teacher and a student concept. And a student will only benefit if the student has the mindset of accepting what your guru says. If you are going to say, I'm not going to listen to this guy, you're not going to grow.
I still remember the word that we used to see in Dr. Naidu's cabinet. A good teacher explains, a better teacher demonstrates, the other one lives by the example. I think Dr. Naidu has molded so many minds, and you and I are one of them.
Yes.
That brings up to the end of the show. Nice talking to you, Joshua.
Thank you, sir.
And once again, That's how confidence speaks. That's what we listen from confidently from Dr. Joshua. Let's make life of healthcare professional a little better, little. You can like, you can subscribe to our channel. Confidence speaks from Dr. Joshua. Thank you.
Thank you so much, doctor.
Thank
It's
you.
been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.